Notts County are a very well-known team in world football. They're the world's oldest professional football club. They've been hanging around the second and third divisions for most of their history and are considered an established Football League side. But after their relegation from League One in 2015, things continued to go wrong for Notts County, and they were relegated out of the Football League for the first time in their history in 2019, which really was a shock considering that they are the oldest professional Football League side in England. But now, after 4 years away, Notts County are back in the Football League and are doing pretty well for their first season back up, and there's a good chance that they're going to end up in the playoffs. So this video is about the fall and rise of Notts County, what caused them to fall out of the Football League, and how they made their way back into the Football League. So yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you do enjoy, and let's go. Notts County's decline really started back in 1992, when they were relegated from the First Division, the season before the breakaway Premier League was formed. So strangely, they were relegated from Division 1 to Division 1. They haven't been in the top flight ever since, and things just got worse for Notts County after this relegation. The next season, the club were en route for a back-to-back relegation, but Neil Warnock was sacked halfway through the season and replaced by Mick Walker, who guided them to safety. And then the next season he had them going in the right direction, with the Magpies just narrowly missing out on the playoffs for promotion to the Premiership, but beating rivals Nottingham Forest 2-1 during that season. At the beginning of the 94-95 season, Mick Walker was surprisingly sacked, and this caused the club to fall into the relegation zone and were relegated at the end of the season, with the club having 4 different managers in charge during the season, which no doubt worsened their chances of survival. In their first season in Division 2, the club made it to the playoff finals at Wembley, but lost in the final to Bradford City. However, in the next season, the club had a monumental fall-off and finished dead last to get relegated down to Division 3, the lowest division in the Football League. Notts County had gone from promotion to the top flight to relegation to Division 3 in the space of 6 years. Notts County spent the next 10 years moving between League 1 and League 2. And during this period in 2003, they went into debt and almost went extinct had it not been for a supporters trust being set up to buy the club. On 2 occasions they got very close to relegation out of the Football League. In the 05-06 season, where they only just survived on the final day, and the 07-08 season, where they finished 2 places off the relegation zone. Things seemed as though they would be getting better for Notts County, as coming into 2009, the club were in talks of a takeover by a mysterious financial group known as Munto Finance, who claimed to have wealth in the Middle East. The Supporters Trust agreed to sell the club to the group for only £1, and Munto Finance immediately made headlines as they signed England international Sol Campbell from Premier League side Portsmouth and talented young keeper Kasper Schmeichel from Man City. However, immediately something was wrong, as Sol Campbell only played 1 game for Notts County before leaving the club. Schmeichel stayed for the whole season, but later revealed that the club hadn't paid him a single penny, saying that the large contract that was offered to him by the owners was all a farce. Munto Finance's takeover of the club was pretty much a scam, and the players and staff they signed during their time didn't get paid the money they had been promised by the owners. Munto Finance were then forced to sell the club to Ray True, again for £1. That ownership fiasco was eventually over, but it really could have ended up much worse for Notts County. HITC7s did a really good video going into more detail about Munto Finance's time at Notts County, so if you want to find out a bit more about that topic, then I recommend watching that video after you finish this one. With things back under control at Notts County, things started to improve for them, and were promoted to League 1 in 2010, and in 2012 they finished just outside the playoffs in 7th. However, this turned out to be a false dawn for Notts County, as 3 seasons later they were relegated back down to League 2. A multitude of different managers were sacked and appointed during their time in League 1, and this didn't help the club thrive at all, as there just was no stability or vision at the club at the time. This in and outflow of different managers continued into their time in League 2, and in May 2019 the world's oldest professional football club were relegated out of the Football League into the National League for the first time in their history. In the summer of 2019 the club went into a reset period, and was sold to Danish businessmen Alexander and Christopher Retz. The National League is notoriously known as a division that is difficult to get out of, with only 2 promotion spots, one automatically and the other being through a 6-sided 3-legged playoff. It would be interesting to see if Notts County could go back up quickly, or get stuck for many years like other clubs have suffered. In their first season, Notts County came 3rd and made it all the way to the playoff final, but lost 3-1 to Harrogate Town in the final. The next 2 seasons were both playoff finishes, but on both occasions they lost in the semi-finals and quarter-finals. Notts County were getting quite unlucky, and up to this point they were struggling to make it all the way in the playoffs. However, the next season they found themselves in an enthralling race for the sole automatic spot against Wrexham. This promotion race really was exciting to watch at the time, and I found myself actually getting fairly invested and interested in this promotion race, having had virtually no previous interest in the National League. With the two sides only being separated by a few points for most of the season, everyone knew that when the two sides played each other right at the end of the season, it would be a massive game and whoever won had pretty much won the title. During the game, Notts County took the lead before half time with a brilliant free kick by Bostock, but then Wrexham scored twice to make it 2-1. Notts County then responded quickly with an equaliser, but just a few minutes later Wrexham capitalised on a mistake to make it 3-2. But then in the 96th minute, Notts County win a penalty, and Ben Foster saves it to give Wrexham the win. The highlights for this game now have 3 million views on YouTube, and keep into account that this was a game in the 5th tier of English football. To be fair, a lot of these views did come from the fact that Wrexham are owned by celebrity Ryan Reynolds, but that's not the point. At the end of the season, Notts County finished on 107 points, which should have been enough to secure automatic promotion in any other season, but they ended up finishing second behind Wrexham, who finished on 111 points. This meant a 4th season in a row of finishing in the dreaded playoffs. Playoffs ended up being just as dramatic for Notts County as their race for automatic promotion against Wrexham. In the semi-finals, they came from 2-0 down to win 3-2, with a 97th minute equaliser and a 120th minute winner in extra time from Geordie Jones to send them into the final in the most dramatic way possible. The final against Chesterfield was just as dramatic too, with Notts County being 1-0 down for most of the game until an 88th minute equaliser from John Bostock to send it to extra time. Chesterfield thought they had scored the winner when Armando Dobra made it 2-1, but in the 108th minute, Ruben Rodriguez made it 2-2 to send it to penalties, and Notts County won the shootout 4-3 to send them back to the Football League by the absolute skin of their teeth. Now back in the Football League, Notts County is sitting just outside the playoffs. However, they should be much higher as manager Luke Williams abandoned ship in January to join Championship side Swansea City. He was an integral part of their promotion push the season before, and he had them in 5th in League 2. Notts County's rise really shows that a relegation can actually be a blessing in disguise, as we've seen with other teams, as this can mean a change in ownership and a reset period which can get the club going in the right direction. And this is exactly what the new Danish owners were able to do. And yeah, that's the fall and rise of Notts County. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.